Oprah invited 500 of her closest friends to her California home over the weekend. You must have a big yard. For a gospel brunch to celebrate her new book. It's called The Wisdom of Sundays, Life-Changing Insights from Super Soul Conversations. It's a collection of moments from the two-time Emmy Award-winning series, Super Soul Sunday.
What is the #1 rule you would offer someone to becoming their most authentic self? Because this is really what we're all looking for. How do I just be more of me?
I think it's allowing yourself to be spontaneous instead of responding to how you think you're supposed to be. We've all developed an identity, a sense of who we think we are and who we're not. You define yourself not only by who you think you are, but who you're not.
On the show, that's Tony Robbins. Oprah has in-depth conversations with spiritual thinkers, including Tony Robbins, who you just saw. That was Sage's wife sitting next to him, right?
That was Sage.
That was Sage. She explores inspirational topics like forgiveness and personal fulfillment. We are pleased to have 60 Minutes special contributor. I love saying that. Oprah, sit up straighter, right? Oprah Winfrey back
when I hear the
table.
60 name, yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oprah.
Good morning,
Good
Jeff,
morning.
Nora.
So glad
Hi.
to have you here.
Glad to be back at the table.
No, we're glad to have you at the table. Do you want to start with Bruce, just to say you were up late because you went to go see Bruce
Well,
last night?
we were just talking about it. Saw Bruce
yeah.
Springsteen last night, and every time I think about it, I'm tearing up because it was the most searingly beautiful performance I've ever seen a person give.
He was so
on
raw.
stage. It was so raw,
So personal.
pure. You come away feeling more like a human being.
Oh, this is a
yourself.
one-person show.
Well, yes, it's called Bruce.
And Jeff, he doesn't want you to sing, which is very, very
Yes,
hard. He
but
doesn't
no,
want you to sing. But
It's so
you gotta sit
I
there
feel
and
like
take
my
it in.
soul has been stirred and now wants to rise. I mean, wasn't that moving?
He'd be good for a Super Soul Sunday
He'd be good for
conversation.
anything.
But,
Really,
but let's talk
conversation.
about your book, The Wisdom of Sundays, because I thought it was interesting that you said without Gary Zukav, there probably wouldn't be a Super Soul Sunday. You said
Yes.
the Oprah Winfrey Show might not have been on for 25 years because he taught you about
Intention. Many
favorite
years
word.
ago, I started doing these spiritual conversations for which my producers are all like, oh, good, we have to talk the spirituality thing.
Yes.
And Gary Zukav was on with his book, Seed of the Soul. And it was my intention to make that book #1 on the bestsellers list so that it could become like the Road Less Traveled. Because I watched the booksellers list for years. Remember when the Road Less Traveled was on for 8
Yes.
years
Yes.
in a row?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wanted the Seed of the Soul to become the next, offering. And there was something he said in that book about intention, how we all know that what you put out is coming back, but even before what you put out is coming back, there's an intention behind what you put out. So I use that principle of intention, actually, for every one of my shows since 1989. I would sit with the producers and say, when you present an idea to me, come clear and be clear about what your intention is, and I have to find my intention within yours in order to sit in the seat and to do the interview. So those principles of living your life with a sense of integrity, with a sense of intention, with a sense of gratitude, learning to forgive people for the mistakes that they've made and you've made, have really helped me lead a more meaningful life. So I've interviewed all these thousands, hundreds of people, not thousands, hundreds of people, feels like thousands, but hundreds of people, and had my own aha moments in the middle of it. So this book.
Don't you love when you have an aha moment?
I just love when that happens.
Yeah.
Speaking of aha moments, I had an aha moment reading this because you talk about spirituality. Most people think of a spirit like God.
Yes.
As the spirit. And you described too about finding that spirit is here.
Yes.
Not outside of it.
Because all of us are seeking, what I say is all of us are seeking the same thing. We share this desire to fulfill the highest expression of truth in ourselves. And that's what spirituality means to me. It's the essence of who you are. I was actually having a conversation years ago with Carolyn Mace, who wrote a book called Anatomy of Spirit. And I could see that the audience was dying on me. The people start doing this. And
Their eyes are glazing over.
And I stopped the show, taping the show, and said, do you all, hey, you're not tracking here. And they said, we don't know what you mean by spirit. Are you talking about?
Because I think of the Holy
Spirit. That's what they said. Are you talking about Moses? Are you talking about the disciples? What are you? No, I said, you have a mind, you have a body, and you have a spirit. So I think to nurture all three, which is what I really work at all the time, is important. And that's what this book is all about.
I like that.
And we have podcasts now. Not only podcasts, but 10 million people have downloaded those podcasts.
I was going to say, I heard your podcasts are doing well.
Yes, and I just love the idea that people are listening to calming, peaceful, information that makes their lives better on the way to work or when they're working out and whatever.
Can we talk about this concept of disease? It's a little bit of what Tony Robbins was talking about when he talked about being spontaneous and not just trying to act the way you think you're supposed to act, but the disease to please.
Well, you ain't got that disease no more.
I don't have it anymore, but I had it for years. That whole, you know, my biggest problem was learning to say no and not saying yes when I really meant no. Like, yes, yes. So learning to say no and learning that no is a complete sentence, and that doing, you know what changed that was the living from the principle of intention. So if you only do what you intend to do, then you don't end up saying yes to things that you don't want to say yes to. Yes.
That Zukoff book really changed you.
Oh, majorly so. It was probably one of the biggest influences for me.
Let's talk about what's happening with Harvey Weinstein. I know you posted on Facebook already, but you haven't kind of spoken yet publicly about what's going on.
I think that this is, I'm always trying to look for the rainbow in the cloud, whatever is the silver lining. And this is what I do know for sure. When something this major happens, when you have the fallout, 50 women coming forward, that it's a watershed moment. And what I do believe is actually happening is that, first of all, it's triggering a lot of unreleased pain, repressed anger, guilt, and suffering that a lot of women have had. I happened to be on set with several actresses the other day, and we were filming some things, and they were like, hadn't slept over a period of 2 or 3 days, and I was like, what is that? I said, oh, you guys are suffering from PTSD.
And when you start talking about it out loud, too, when you haven't
everybody
talked
has
about
a
it.
story. Everybody has a story. And so I think this is a watershed moment. And if we make this just about Harvey Weinstein, then we will have lost this moment. I think this is a moment where no matter what business you work in, there have been women who not only had the disease to please, that's a part of it, but who felt that in order to keep my job, in order to keep my position, in order to keep moving forward, I've got to smile, I've got to look the other way, I got to pretend he didn't say that, I got to pretend he didn't touch me. I think those days are about to be over.
Are over. And if it happens to you back in the day, you would say, sometimes you're not even aware what he just said wasn't really inappropriate.
I know you've had a couple moments.
Where you just think, what did he just say?
Yes, I remember. Gayle had
Yeah.
a moment when she came and said to me what somebody said to her was so inappropriate. I was like, oh my God, you can sue over that. But
No, and all I said was, what did you say? And then they repeated it.
yes, it's terrible.
I just
Terrible.
sat there typing with my 20-something-year-old.
Pretend you didn't hear it.
Yes.
You pretend it's
laugh. We should
okay.
laugh
You
about it.
pretend you didn't.
No, it isn't. You're right, Jeff. It absolutely, you're
pretend
absolutely right.
But a lot of women have been silenced, and I know.
But I do think it's gonna change,
Being a victim of child sexual abuse, that when you feel like you cannot be heard, and then other people start speaking out, it makes you feel like, oh, now I can speak out too.
Yeah.
So,
Can we
and you've
just-
been speaking about it for
years.
Yeah.
Could we just talk to you about 60 Minutes? Because I think it's so interesting for you, Oprah, who's used to being in control.
Yes.
To be working with a group of people that says, that was good, but could you do that again?
Well, let me just tell you, when you go to 60 Minutes,
They are
Jeff
no
Fager,
joke.
How are your
is in control.
screenings?
Yeah, let me
They're-
just tell you.
yeah, Jeff Fager.
Everybody's like, oh, you're coming in. So this is the process. You know the screenings, and everybody's like, oh, you got a
yes.
screening. Oh, you got. I had 2 screenings in one day because I have a story coming up this Sunday, by the way. So I had 2 screenings. And I decided I'm just not going to be nervous about the screening. I mean, really.
Good luck with that.
I'm just not going to be nervous about the screening. But I love the process. I love the process of sitting in a room and everybody ripping your stuff apart. I love that.
And
When they
saying,
say,
could you do
go
that
back,
better?
make it
Yeah.
better. Jeff Fager has an ear and an eye like
I know,
unbelievable.
like nobody else.
Yeah,
I know.
nobody else.
He is the real deal. And you even said you're learning.
I'm
You're
learning things.
from
He
him,
goes, you
which I
know,
think
you
is
can
great.
reframe that.
Yes.
You can take that out. And why did you use that word and not that word? I just find it fascinating.
Well,
So
I
what's
know
your
it's
piece
less
on?
than-
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, yes, sir. Okay, sir.
But
Yes, sir.
Oprah, briefly tell what your piece is about, because I think that you could break news here today.
Yeah.
About my piece?
No,
Oh.
not about your piece.
Okay.
2020, I'm wondering if you've narrowed down your short list of VP candidates.
She's lost her mind now. No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
No,
Took me a minute to follow. I'm
I
like,
know,
VP
okay.
candidate.
2020, I was thinking of the show.
People ask it all the time. Even I am now starting to think the rules have changed about running for president. I said I would bet my firstborn that you would never do it, and Kirby goes, hey, 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 hey.
Well, you can be safe with that. There will be no running for office of any kind for me. But I thought you wanted to talk about my 60 Minutes piece.
All right, just briefly say
This was
what
a good
it is.
question, though.
I think that
was a good question.
The clock is ticking, as you know.
Okay, okay.
So thank
Gotta
you.
go.
Yeah.
Oprah,
John
thank you
Peck
so
is saying
much.
we got to go.
The Wisdom of Sundays
He's
is
saying
on
bye,
sale
Oprah.
now. It's really good. And you can
Yes.
watch Oprah's next 60 Minutes report, Pelican Bay, Sunday night, right here on CBS.
Yes. Thank you.
You're watching CBS This Morning.